Hey guys, this is Mecrow here. I wanted to show people how to make Lucent because this is something that has become a bit of a topic today, and I want to show you guys why. So, the conspiracy theory behind this is Amazon's earnings call is in 2 days, and today people got hit with basically a Lucent ban. The way this works in Throne and Liberty is if you are swiping and AGS catches you, they will basically take the amount that you swipe, and they'll make the person that swiped pay that back to AGS. So it turns into a negative balance. And because of this, a lot of people are in a state where they're not very happy because they swiped. So I want to show you guys how I made this mostly from a free-to-play. I'd say I am generally, like, I'm a dolphin, not free-to-play, but and spent like $50 on this game, but generally I made most of my Lucent, like probably 95% of it free to play. Just I used a bit at the beginning to kind of catch up. So the main thing that we're going to be looking at is basically the auction house, because this is how you make money in this game. And then if you look through sell history, there's a few things that I want to point out here. So you have a few different options. You can sell traits, or you could sell lithographs. So all of these are traits. This is a lithograph. And then alternatively, you could sell consumables. All of those are pretty good at making money at this point. At the point we're in right now, it's a lot better to sell consumables or blues compared to most purples. The way that the math works is that in order to create a trait stone, it requires a resource that some of you guys might know of from the coin merchant called trait extraction stones. This will cost 5 trait extraction stones for a blue and will cost 25 for a purple, and because the minimum amount that you could sell a piece for is 10, this just mathematically makes it so that any purple piece that you sell has to be worth more than 50 for it to be worth using a trait extraction stone on. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it, and you should just be using these on blues. So I have quite a few of these stockpiled. This is like one resource you're looking for when you're trying to sell this. The other ones include the lithographs, which I think got moved in here. So this is what a lithograph looks like. You basically, if you want to use this, you click on it. Or I could show how this part works. So you click on this, you hit use, you click on some sort of equipment piece, and it'll create the lithograph. You can see an estimate often for these in terms of like what they sell for if you look at the preview, and then you can put that on the auction house, or you can just like actually go to the auction house, search for your piece, and then like see what you could sell it for. So if I had, like, say I use this lithograph for the Blessed Templar cloak, if I want to sell it, I see a preview here of like what it's been, what the highest price is, what the lowest price is. But I see this is the debuff duration, and if I go here, I type in Blessed or something like that. It should, if I actually can type correctly, it will show up. And then go to either extract or you go to lithograph, and then you can tell what the price is. So if I go to extract, the debuff duration is worth 150 right now. There's ways to kind of get to the maximum amount here, right? Like if I were to change my trait before I use the trait extraction stone and changed it to skill damage resistance, I could get a lot more bang for my buck. That uses a different resource, or you could just create a lithograph, which is worth 500. So in this case, it doesn't really make sense for me to create a trait extraction. I just did this at the time, and now I'm just trying to offload it before this piece isn't as used as much in tier 2. So that's kind of the standpoint of how you make money with the cloaks. The other noteworthy, or not just cloaks, but with armor in general, or weapons. But the main thing to note here is lithographs require more resources than the normal extract, so it's not always worth it to go for a lithograph. Like in this case, I can make 500 from a lithograph, right? But then if I were to just create something that had the skill damage resistance thing, it would cost less resources and sell for more. So it makes the most sense to sell this if you have something that has that particular trait. There is also like another edge case here too. So if you have something that drops from a field boss, you can't actually create a lithograph of this, and that will mean that you have to sell it for the trait. So these pieces are either really expensive typically, or they're kind of worthless. So like max mana is like not really that good on this Asriel siphoning sword, for example. So if I go to as, kind of do the same thing, type it in, look at here, look at max mana, you'll see none have sold because no one wants this. It's not that it's expensive, it's like no one wants max mana. So that's kind of the standpoint of like how some of that stuff works. There is a little bit, I think, of a better option right now too that a lot of people are sleeping on, and that's basically grinding for food. So if we look in the oven for the recipes here, there are certain pieces that are worth more than others. So the main thing to know is you could use right now for food, for PvP meta, you could use 1 attack or 1 defense food. You could use a health recovery food. You could use a mana recovery food. And then you could use a utility food typically. So the super expensive ones to make and the ones that are worth a lot are typically the mana recovery food, which require you to farm these mushrooms. And then there's also the utility food. So like scorpion tail fritters, for example, requires you to get the scorpion's tails and requires like this can get bought, this can be bought. This is farmed by almontoys, but it's like the main thing is you have to farm these scorpion tails. So if I were to look at scorpion tail fritters, for example, if I could spell correctly, that would be very helpful. So if I look at scorpion tail fritters, you're typically going to be getting the green ones as of this patch. You're making 12 lucent per unit that you, or no, you're making 6 lucent per unit that you sell, which isn't a lot. If I were to look at the mushroom food, or if I look at the lava fish, it would be a lot more. Both of these are really, really used in PvP. I think the mushroom is like kind of the easiest one to get an abundance of, personally, from just farming. That's the one that I sell a lot. If I were to look at mushroom stir fry, this is selling for 8 to 10 per, and you can get like 20 to 30 mushrooms within 10 minutes if you know the farm spots. Like the main one that I typically use when I'm looking for this are areas that don't spawn rocks and don't spawn trees. So those are primarily deserts. So like a sandworm layer, there's a route over here that you can kind of do, and you can get a bunch of these. But basically any area that doesn't spawn rocks and doesn't spawn trees, which tends to be deserts, tends to be pretty good for having mushrooms because they grow in the desert for some reason. So that's like kind of one tip there, or another tip there to kind of make Lucent, and then like you do that over time and you can just kind of acquire this. So for anyone that's like kind of getting into the game and can't acquire like gear super easily, these are like some tips that can help you. Just know that if you're going to go down the food route, like this does require some cooking levels, right, to actually get to the mushroom stir fry. So it's like if you want to actually create this so that you could sell it, it's going to take a bit to get there. And you have a chance of getting a one that can sell. It's not guaranteed, so it's like it's not perfect, but it is a way to make Lucent, and it tends to be more efficient than selling gear at this point. When T2 comes out, which should be within the month, that gear will obviously be at a premium right away, so it's like pretty important to be in a spot where you can farm the gear when Tier 2 comes out, and which is supposed to be on March 6th, I believe. And then from there, you're able to sell those drops, kind of stockpile Lucent, wait a few weeks later for the price to drop when an abundance of stuff kind of comes out and is available on the market, and then you start buying. So it's like you don't buy right away, but you buy when the kind of price goes down, if that makes sense. And that's just like generally how you end up in a pretty good spot to where you don't need to consistently swipe and go into debt when AGS bans you and start crying and all that stuff. So with that being said, let me know if that was helpful at all. Let me know if you guys are continuing to play this game, if you're looking to check it out or not, because I know some newer players are looking to check out Throne of Liberty, and it's still been fun, probably 2-3 months in, and I think I have like 800 hours on this game, so pretty solid from the game. I think it's like pretty awesome. It's just like a game that has the opposite problem as games I've typically played, where there's so much content that it's annoying. Most games have a problem where there's so little content that it's annoying, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise if you think about it, but it is kind of annoying at how much stuff you need to do sometimes. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.